Why, yes, my child, of course I can. I'm sorry it took so long. I have 3 pages of notes. Let's see if I can get this done in one video. Probably not. For those of you new to my music score analysis vomit, and those of you just returning, let's refresh. If you listen closely to a movie score, it what, class? Tells the story that's going on through the music. Today I'm going to talk about the scores of the Avengers movies with a special focus on Endgame. It's mostly about Endgame. Of course, during this installment of the series, as next week at the Hollywood Bowl, they're doing the music of the entire Infinity Saga, and I'm in New York. For anyone who's going, I'm jealous of you. Fuck you, and have a great time. Start with some general information about the Avengers music. Avengers theme is composed by Alan Silvestri, who also did the original Captain America theme. It makes sense that he does the Avengers theme. Captain America is the first Avenger. He's the daddy of the team. It makes sense. Got a little Captain America flavor to it. It should. But, and I didn't write this down, I just thought of it. Captain America theme is more like major chords. Major chords are meant to invoke hope, happiness, optimism. Reflects a very apple pie view of America and of Captain America. Avengers theme, even though it has a little Captain America flair to it, it has more minor chords. Minor chords invoke more of a sense of seriousness, a little more anxiety. It makes sense because not all the Avengers are apple pie head-ass soldiers. The vibe of the team itself is a little more nuanced than the vibe of Steve Rogers by himself. You feel the difference in the mood that it invokes, like the Captain America theme, da 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 da, and then the Avengers with more minor chords, da 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 da. It's darker, but it slays. While Alan Silvestri did the original Avengers theme, Danny Elfman did the score, part of the score, I think, of Age of Ultron. For this movie, it seems like they were going for more of a spookier vibe, probably reflective of Ultron's whole vibe. Of course, they bring on Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman, as a composer, is a spooky-ass bitch. He's known for composing spooky themes, and back in like the early 2000s, when superhero movies were a little more edgier, he did all of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. He's also done basically every Tim Burton movie ever. Danny Elfman scores and Tim Burton movies are attached at the hip. Spooky ass bitch. If I'm hearing correctly, Thanos has a theme. It's literally just 2 notes. Da, da. I believe those are 2 minor chords because he's a bad guy. Here's something I find interesting and sneaky about this theme. I cast my memory back correctly. You actually hear Thanos' theme before you ever see Thanos for the first time. I believe you hear it a lot in the first Avengers movie. One could have associated that theme with Loki, but as we know, Loki was just a puppet. Like in different points throughout the Infinity Saga, probably just the Avengers movies, you'll hear that dun dun. It's foreshadowing something. All this time. And then in the opening for Infinity War, it's the first thing we hear. Dun, dun. And then, of course, we hear it all the time because it's baby girl's time to shine. Last time we hear the Thanos theme is actually as he is being dusted away after Tony snapped. Wah, wah. This is just the first page. So this might be an obvious point out, but we do hear the Avengers theme, like the full-on Avengers theme for the first time since like probably Ultron or Civil War in Infinity War. Because the Civil War theme was a fractured variation of the Avengers theme, which was composed by Henry Jackman. You know, fractured, like the Avengers as a team, fractured, they broke up. Anyway, the first time in a long time that we hear the full Avengers theme again is literally the moment that Steve comes on the screen in Infinity War. Literally as soon as he catches that spear thing or whatever. It's the moment in Infinity War that I like to call Daddy's home, because now the Avengers are effectively back together, yay. Now we're on page 2. Oh my god, okay. I want to talk about Tony's funeral theme, I want to talk about portals, and I also want to talk about Thanos' garden theme. The music in Endgame is especially bussin' because there's a lot of repetition of themes to tell this story. Draw parallels and foreshadow things that are going to happen. Tony's funeral theme, it plays obviously at the end during his funeral, but it also plays at the beginning. When he and Nebula are trapped in the spaceship, he just recorded his message to Pepper. He thinks he's probably going to die. At this moment, he is actually near death. He kind of dozes off to sleep, and this funeral theme plays while he's sleeping. It plays very softly, very gently, almost like a lullaby. Some kind of synth instrument. Very, very ethereal, very It has some of the rest of the orchestra, like the heavy strings come in, but not all of them. It's hesitant. He's probably not going to die here. And he doesn't. He's taking a little nappy nap. And then at the end, during his funeral, it plays in full fanfare, full orchestra, because homie is indeed now deceased. This is now a definite send-off. What's interesting about this funeral theme is that, like, it's a sad moment, right? Music that is meant to invoke sadness usually has a lot of minor chords. This funeral theme is composed of mostly major chords with, like, 1 minor chord. Almost like this funeral theme is telling us to not be that sad. This theme is the da 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 da. If you played it faster, it actually is kind of reminiscent of a graduation recessional march thing, which is an interesting thing to evoke in this moment in this film. It feels like things have come full circle. It feels like things are complete. Things are wrapped up in a way that it's supposed to happen. It's meaningful, so don't be too sad. It's kind of like the last message that Tony leaves for everybody in the hologram. It says something like, why am I tripping? Everything is going to work out the way it's supposed to go. We see that he made his peace with death before we even knew that he did. He's finally at rest. As Pepper says when he dies, like, you can rest now from your bullshit. Okay, I can do this. Portals. The theme for the portals plays during the actual portals, but it also plays at the beginning of the movie. The portals theme is the da 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 da. So a softer version of that, not with the full orchestra, also plays when Carol Danvers rescues Tony and Nebula in the beginning of the movie. Specifically when she is bringing the ship down to the Avengers compound and the Avengers run out to meet them. Movement is mostly minor chords, which is meant to invoke like anxiety. There's a little piece in there that goes da na 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 na. It feels like uncertainty, it feels like a question, like a what's going on. There's the parallel between these two moments when the theme plays. Let's see, help coming just in time, an unexpected arrival, a little bit of relief, maybe a lot of relief. The beginning of the movie, it's a little slower, it's a little less full, though it is a relief, you know, though it is Carol coming in just in the nick of time to help. Still in the context that a lot of people got murked, and like, yeah, at least Tony didn't, but a lot of people got murked. I also noticed, because I'm a weirdo, there's a specific part of the Portals theme that plays when Sam flies out of the portal, like a definitive moment of everything's gonna be okay for real. It also plays in the beginning when they're going to the garden to try and find Thanos, and Steve is kind of sitting there dissociating, looking at Peggy's picture. Natasha's like, Steve, it's gonna work, and he's like, I know, because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't. Both of these moments for Steve as the leader of the Avengers are pretty crucial. They're both moments that he hopes that he or the universe can pull something out of their ass. First time, it doesn't happen. Second time, it does. Of course, the second time is when that piece of the theme plays in full fanfare. And it is playing at full fanfare near the end of the movie. All these minor chords, they're building into more and more major chords. More and more major chords get added on to the end of the theme until it finally transitions into the Avengers theme for Avengers Assemble, invoking a feeling of going from absolute despair to hope. Something very interesting, when T'Challa and the Wakanda gang are the first people that come out of the portals, the portals theme is being played by one lone bugle. Let's hear it. To me, as a military veteran, this is such a military nod. A few times in military culture when a lone bugle plays. At the beginning of the day when we're raising up the flag, and at the end of the day when we're lowering the flag. I think sometimes at like funerals. It invokes some somber loneliness, reverence. This could mean two things to me. It could be very reflective of how Steve feels at this moment. He was ready to die in a blaze of glory fighting Thanos by himself. It could also be an interesting like juxtaposition, reverse use, because this is literally the moment where hope is finally here. Let's try to do this. Thanos has a theme at the garden, you know, the place where he retires. It plays twice ever. It plays at the end of Infinity War and it plays at the beginning of Endgame. It's somber with minor chords, and in Infinity War is played very gently with strings, violin, invoking a feeling of mourning, and it ends on a major chord. As that major chord is played as the final chord, Thanos smiles. From his perspective, what he just did is really, really sad, but he fulfilled his mission, what he wanted to do for the greater good. So he's happy. I'm not a Thanos truther. I'm just saying what he's feeling. It is this weird mourning moment for half of the universe. Movement ending on that major chord, it invokes closure. The work is done and it always will be. Or so he thought. The theme also plays in Endgame after Thor decapitates him. Played with full orchestra, very harsh horns. It ends in a minor chord, in despair. Because from Thor's perspective, this is closure, but it is too little too late. Nobody is happy, not even in a bittersweet way, because at the moment, it changes nothing. Last thing, honorable mention to the Vormir theme. I don't have time to say much about it, but I will say that not only does it play every time somebody is sacrificed on Vormir, but in the show Hawkeye, every time Natasha is brought up, that theme plays. Like, oh my God, we get it, my God. There you go, there's my dump on the Avengers music. I'm gonna do is Shang-Chi next.